Good morning, everyone. I'm Julie Livingston. And after a little break, I'm back for another edition of PR Patter, my semi weekly show where I chat with the amazing people from across my public relations and marketing network. If you like what you see, please go to my website at wantleverage.com and download my new tip sheet, Unlock the 5 Hidden LinkedIn Strategies Top PR Firms Swear By. And this is a tip sheet that speaks to the importance of thought leadership on the LinkedIn platform. Today, I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Roxy Garrity. She is a health tech executive and former national television journalist, motivated by creativity, culture, and humanitarian progress. I love that, Roxy. She's an award winning and Emmy nominated digital media creative professional, and her video work has aired nationally, including a World Series commercial for Facebook and a recent national true crime television show. She brings extensive experience as a content creator with exceptional social media marketing skills and has a proven track record of driving viral news and delivering compelling live event content coverage and forging strategic partnerships. Her background in journalism, combined with her creative mindset, makes her uniquely positioned to lead innovation in the health tech space, which is where she works currently. So, welcome, Roxy. Great to see you.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for
So,
having me.
what today we're going to talk about why journalists make great PR professionals, and this is a question that's been,
Mhm.
on my mind forever because I've been in public relations and marketing for more than 3 decades, and I actually
Mhm.
started as a journalist myself. Um, I
Yeah, a
was a
lot of
young
us do.
fashion editor for a number of years and then decided to switch the tables and do what the all of the beauty and fashion companies were doing. They were pitching me on featuring their products and services and ideas, and I decided that I wanted to do what they were doing and really put my writing skills to task. And so tell me a little bit about what makes a great journalist.
Well, first off, we're storytellers, both people in journalism and in public relations. And getting that knowledge and ability and passion for it early on is definitely a transferable skill that you already have. Say, if you are a journalist out there looking to make that switch into PR, you can do the interviews, you can
Right.
write the copy, and you can sell the story. Because if you realize it or not, every morning, say in that pitch meeting that you have in your newsroom, you're selling yourself, you're selling that story, you're pitching that idea. And take that in the PR world, that's what you're doing, but you're trying to sell the journalist. So it's a same skill set that you're building as a journalist that you're going to use in the PR field. So understanding media relationships is also another one. You work in the newsroom, like I like to say, you know how the sausage is made. So when you're pitching it, you know what that reporter is looking for. They want the who, what, where, when, why, and really what kind of um, takeaway their viewers, their audience, their readers are going to gain for this particular story. Content creation, writing, I touched on that a little bit, is also skills that journalists build and continue to use in their PR career. And also you handle crisis situations well, because everybody knows there's going to be breaking news constantly. You don't know where, when, how, but you know it's going to happen in your career. And when there's a crisis at your company, you don't freak out. You're under control. You're not swear. Well, maybe you are, but
Inside, but not on
you
the
handle
outside,
it.
right?
Exactly. You don't show it. And then you also build, as a journalist, an ethical foundation that you're going to need in the PR game, hopefully. Strategic thinking, and you're also just social media savvy because you're constantly sharing your stories and tagging other people in your stories. You know how to kind of build those partnerships early on, and that's also what you're going to use and what you're going to try to cultivate in the PR field. So all those things, I'm sure there's more that we can
No,
chat
these
about
are
too.
phenomenal skills. And I think that's why so many journalists do go to the PR side at some point in their
Mhm.
careers. And, they find it just as interesting and exciting. Maybe they have a little more frustration because they think they have a great story and it doesn't get picked up. But, you know,
Yeah.
um, what is it about functioning under pressure when delivering news? I mean, how do journalists do it? And I think about my days.
Mhm.
I've worked across in many sectors in the public relations area. I've worked at agencies where you're really under a lot of pressure, not only to bring in business, to retain business and to make clients happy. It's not always that easy.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a different kind of pressure that you may be surprised when you do make that transition. Like, you're not talking to somebody who just lost a loved one in a natural disaster and having to empathize with them. You're not doing that on a day-to-day basis. You're more in the corporate setting and having to please those executives and the salespeople. Like, why isn't this story working to sell this particular product? It's not so much life or death in the PR game, hopefully, and that it is in the news game where you are going out in those crazy environments and having to just like bring out emotion in people. But being in that situation and then getting out of that situation and in the PR career or in the PR office, it's a little less stressful. So whatever stresses that you're going to have in PR and in your corporate communications job is just not going to be as bad. You've handled way worse if you look at it that way. Like, oh, this person is hounding me. Like, you got to sell this. You got to partner with this person, this brand, this influencer. Yes, it's stressful, but not in the way that you're used to. So I feel like you're going to adapt. Um, and it's I won't say it's going to be easier. It's going to be different, but you're adaptable. You're flexible. Journalists do that on a daily basis. So I feel like you're positioned yourself in a way that will put you ahead and advance you faster than, say, somebody without that
A
background.
friend of mine, another publicist, had a client who was killed in a plane crash. Actually, it was very unfortunate, very sad. And she had to kind of, this is totally unexpected. She had to kind of spin on a dime to really get that story out and continue her legacy beyond that because she owned an important design packaging firm. Um, how would you suggest somebody handle that kind of a situation, like in continuing somebody's legacy from a PR angle after there's a tragedy like
Mhm.
that?
I feel like in that situation, you do need to speak to who they're closest with and who is going to carry on their legacy, like their children, their family, their loved ones and friends, and find out, maybe have a crisis communications meeting, conference call as soon as you can, as soon as you hear about that tragedy, and find out what does resonate with them and what they would like to see, and come up with a collaborative statement that then you can release on their behalf. Because most times in those tragic situations, the family is not in a state of mind to speak to the public. And that's where you have to step in as the PR representative, to kind of step away from and don't let your emotions take control, although you probably will care and cry after the story is released because you knew that person, you cared about that person, but you're strong enough not to show that face in the front of journalists, in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So it is, you have to just, yeah, you have to be the face in that difficult situation, find out what that family truly wants and how they want that legacy of that person to be carried on, and do your
Yeah, I mean,
best.
even after this person passed away, the
Mhm.
design firm went on, continued doing what it does, and I have noticed that they often speak about this woman's legacy and how it relates to their
Mhm.
current work. So they've kind of kept her alive, and the credibility and the status that her name brings to it, but she's obviously no
Yeah.
longer there.
Yeah, I feel like that is important. If you have somebody who cared so much about the company, starting maybe a scholarship in their honor and even doing positive PR in that light, I feel like always is just brings people together to remember the happier
Yeah.
times and not the tragic situation is
Yeah,
how
no,
they
that's
left
great.
the world.
Um,
Mhm.
how do you think that, for as long as I can remember, I think since the beginning of my career, there's always been this sort of
Mhm.
feeling of competition between journalists and publicists. And I could never figure out why,
Mhm.
because in my experience, you're always kind of needing to work together. Maybe you can dive into that a little for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I still feel that way sometimes just in, like, interactions on a day-to-day basis. It's sometimes when people honestly, everyone can relate to this, they don't like to hear no. So when a journalist can't do your story, the publicist sometimes owes like they're my enemy, even if they did a story with you in the past. Like, hey, what happened? You're no longer my friend, or breaking news happens, or they're on a different assignment and they could do your story, but maybe not now. And I feel like that will pit people against each other. But at the end of the day, you are working towards a common goal, and that is to get the story to the people. So if you look at it that way, and I feel like sometimes people in higher executive levels feel their egos
They get
like
in the way,
sometimes need to
right?
be in check. Like, yeah, what you had for lunch yesterday is not news, or whatever like that situation is, and they like, why aren't they covering this when there's something national breaking news happening? Like, you need to take a step back, you need to breathe. And part of your role in corporate communications or at an agency is kind of keep both sides in check. Like, we do want to cover, like, this story is a story, it's going to get covered, or this story isn't a story, let's try to brainstorm on finding something that is. And then the journalist does, if they want something crazy that you can't deliver, you kind of have to put them in check. Like, hey, you can't fly on this private jet this day, or whatever the story may be. And like, we can give you this, and this. But I feel like it's just, it's a lot of like babysitting in a way. Like, you have to like make this side happy and this side happy, and then end up with that, hopefully, like, good story at the end of the
I
day.
used to work with a woman. I never thought she was a very great publicist, but that was her role.
Mhm.
And we were working with a lot of social media influencers at that time, mom bloggers. And I'd often hear her say, yeah, that blogger said she'd do a story for me. And that always struck me as very strange because the blogger is not. I'd love to hear your side of the story on this. The blogger is not
Right.
necessarily doing a story for her personally.
Yeah. But it's for her client, and it's because maybe they're friends and they have something worked out where you're going to give that blogger the exclusive on the next thing that you
But the
do.
blogger must
And
also see value in it. I mean, the blogger has to see the news
yeah,
value or the product value in featuring something. They're not just going to do it because you're a friend.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
really
I hope
professional
not.
anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens, but I feel like if you are looking to get in the influencing game as a professional, that you don't do something as like a favor, you do it because it adds value to your audience. And or you spin it in a way that this is what my audience cares about, so this is how I'm going to do this story for the the brand.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, Roxy, and how you transferred your skills from being a journalist to being in PR.
Yeah, so I consult now for a company called Care Yaya, and they are a matching platform. It matches pre-health students, so students looking to get into the medicine field, whether it be a PA, a nurse, a doctor, a physical therapist, anything in the health related career. They can get matched with people in the community that they can get their patient care hours for. So it's a lot of Alzheimer's dementia care, people who are medically vulnerable, have a disability, but need companionship care. So it's non medical care. They need somebody to do light housekeeping, grooming, make sure they don't fall while going on walks, do a little bit of meal prep, run
And
some
be
errands for
conversational
them,
with them, I would
and
imagine.
yeah, just like combat loneliness, just like have a conversation. Um, so we match these people, and the platform is called Career. We work with major colleges and universities. So we're in 30 different markets. We are huge in North Carolina. We're in New York City, San Francisco, Dallas, Florida, South Carolina, Atlanta, lots of markets. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm also consulting for a company called Counterforce Health, and that helps with insurance claim denials. So if you're denied a claim with your insurance, it uses AI to generate you a professional appeal letter. So anything in the health tech related field, that's kind of my niche, is who I'm
That's
doing
great.
PR
Were
for.
you reporting in that niche when you were a journalist?
I was doing a lot of tech and health. I mean, I feel like everyone who starts out as a journalist does some sort of like health reporting.
Is that right?
And
Really?
I just, yeah, I mean, because it's a lot of people care about it. I feel like it's something that if you pitch a story that is universally kind of like a healthcare story, is like, oh, this new something device, drug can help with whatever. Like it's going to be talked about on the news. So I feel like I did general assignments. So I've done a little bit of everything, but I kind of just like fell into this. I really enjoy it. So, and I feel like you do to really, I mean, keep the right kind of clientele and just differentiate yourself amongst other publicists. You do kind of have to have a niche. And I just fell into this one.
That's
so
great. That's great.
Happy with it.
What advice would you give for people who want to make a switch from journalism to public relations?
I would start networking now, and just all the PR people that are pitching you, kind of have a conversation with them and say like, hey, what is your day-to-day like? And then that's where you may also find your niche. Like if you find that this PR person is doing something that you're particularly interested in, if they are collaborating with micro influencers and they're doing this, or if they're just doing paid media and working with paying YouTubers. So you will find kind of your interest in just talking and networking with other PR people. And these people are easy to come across because they're pitching you on a day-to-day basis, and you might ignore their pitches half the time, but hey, you want to start networking, so maybe respond and say, and publicists really enjoy that feedback because so many of our emails, maybe you can relate, do get unanswered. So when you get that small response,
it's like a win.
No,
it's
sorry.
huge.
Yeah, that's a win. So they'll appreciate it. You'll gain something out of it, and you'll really kind of understand kind of what goes into their job, and you can kind of start to think about what you want to do next. You should also start tailoring your resume and portfolio to be geared towards PR and not journalism, because so many people in the PR communication, corporate communication fields don't speak the language of a newsroom or of a journalist.
Great. What a great
So,
tip.
I mean, you have chat. Yeah. So put your resume into ChatGPT and say, tailor this towards this specific role, or take out the TV news jargon. Like nobody's going to know what a package is, but you and people in the TV world. But yeah, just it all kind of will. There's our skills that will correlate to PR skills. You just got to word them the right way. And I'm happy to answer quick questions if anybody wants to reach out to me or send me a DM if you're having an issue with that. That's probably the hardest part. One other thing I recommend doing, and it is something that I did before jumping into this game full time, was I did freelancing contract work.
That's a great
PR.
footstep into.
Yeah, to get and to
Sure.
make sure this is really what you want to do, because so many people did. And it's kind of, I explain journalism sometimes as a lifestyle, like not just a career, as something that you kind of live. And maybe you get your toes wet in PR by doing freelance and contract work and don't like it. So that means means you haven't like left journalism full time. You're just consulting, you're freelancing, and say like, oh, this is not for me. Let me go back to journalism. That's what I was meant to do. So I definitely recommend that. And you'll also start making connections. You'll talk to agencies. A lot of PR agencies do need freelancing contract work because they do take on a big project. It's more that
Or
they
they
can
need a
handle.
certain
So
expertise.
yes. So, I mean, they're out there. You do need to network to kind of gain entry, join LinkedIn, PR groups on Facebook. There's probably a chapter, a PR chapter,
PRSA.
national chapter, yes, in your city. So a lot of these, even marketing firms, agencies will generally talk and post
That's
these
great,
jobs.
great information. Well, Roxy, it's been great to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining me. And
Yes,
if you
thanks,
want to
Julie.
reach Roxy, I'm assuming you could go on LinkedIn, look for Roxy
Absolutely.
Garrity.
Yeah, it's just Roxy Garrity.
And you can look at the website of one of her clients, careyaya.org, to find out more about what they do. I'll see you next time on another edition of PR Patter. And again, go to my website and download my new free tip sheet. Unlock the 5 hidden LinkedIn strategies that PR teams swear by. Great information in there. So have a good day, everyone, and I'll see you next time on PR Patter.